Another Fox News alert. Donald Trump surging in the polls. Brand new Fox polling gives Trump an 11-point lead over his closest Republican rival just 2 days before the big debate in Cleveland, Ohio. As we say good morning and welcome to America's Newsroom. I'm Bill Hemrick. Good morning at home, at work.
Good morning
wherever
to you.
You are. How you doing, Heather?
I'm Heather Childers in for Martha McCallum. Exciting week. Donald Trump topping this new poll at 26%. Jeb Bush, he's second and the only other candidate in double digits. Scott Walker is third. Meanwhile, just outside the top 10, Carly Fiorina and former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum, they are tied for 11th place.
Let's go to Cleveland. Joining us live there where the debate will be held on Thursday, one at 5 o'clock, one at 9 o'clock. Fox News digital politics editor Chris Steyerwalt. He's beating everybody there in Cleveland, Ohio. Chris, good morning. You call this Trump-nado, and it's ripping through the Republican field. Explain that.
Look, it's now tearing up everybody in the field except for Jeb Bush, but every candidate, now including Scott Walker, who had so far been impervious to the deleterious effects of Donald Trump, they're all taking a beating now. And I guess you'd also have to say that Marco Rubio and John Kasich, who aren't competing with the same votes as Trump, they're competing with Jeb Bush in a different lane. They haven't been as affected by Trump, but everybody else has taken a beating. And that's going to be very consequential when they get to that stage.
Yeah, certainly.
When you're talking to those folks tomorrow, Brother Bill.
How do you think that plays out then, Chris?
Well, look, so you have a choice. So if you're Jeb Bush, your job is to be above it all, to be above the fray with Donald Trump. If Donald Trump attacks you, you'll have to have something to say. You'll have words of great sternness. For everybody else, they have to make a decision. Do you run and hide from the Trump-nado, or do you try to engage? Do you try to knock him down? Do you come out of the storm cellar and say, no, mister, you're fired. You're bad. I don't like you. I don't like your hair, or whatever you're going to say. And you know what? The new polling out today suggests that John Kasich is going to be on the same stage as Donald Trump tomorrow. And you know what he likes to do? Fight, fight, fight. That guy likes to bring the fight, and that's one matchup I'll be looking forward to seeing.
All right, reading from FoxNews.com, Trump's rise has not hurt former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, who garners 15% as the only other Republican in double digits. You laid out a long list there, Chris, with the exception of Jeb Bush. What do you see in his numbers?
Look, I see for Jeb Bush, the better Trump does, the better it is for Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush has a tough electability sale to make to the Republican Party, given his last name. But if things get crazy, if this is a total tumult, and Donald Trump looks like the things are careening and he's going to bring the whole establishment down, remember, there's just a couple of, I think Chris Christie does worse. I think George Pataki does worse. Poor George Pataki. But they do worse in one important metric than Trump, which is would never support. So there's about a third of the Republican Party that says no matter what happens, they'll do anything but support Donald Trump. Those are all potential Jeb Bush voters, even if they don't like him right now. They could flee to him if things look too dangerous.
Right. On the Democratic frontrunner, this is what it reads. Support for the Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton remains high despite sliding to its lowest yet. What do you see there with her?
What I see there is Joseph Robinette Biden, Vice President of these United States of America, licking his notable chops as he stands there and thinks, this is somebody I could beat. And you know what? I'm starting to think maybe he could. It's a tough poll. Hillary Clinton has all the money. I mean, she's already running daggone ads. She's up 26 points in the polls in Iowa, and she's running ads in Iowa against poor Bernie Sanders. If you got to run TV ads against an independent socialist from Vermont, you are not feeling super confident. So we'll see what happens, but I think Joe Biden has got to be thinking he can do this.
Indeed. All right, Chris, thank you, man. Chris Steyerwalt, live there in Cleveland, Ohio. We'll see you very soon. Indeed, we shall. Heather.
Meanwhile, last night, 14 of the 17 GOP contenders taking part in a forum in Manchester, New Hampshire. One notable absence, the frontrunner, Donald Trump. Molly Line is live for us in Manchester. So, Molly, what are some of the highlights from last night?
Yeah, as you mentioned, there were 14 candidates that managed to participate in this latest cattle call. It made for a very crowded stage. There were even several senators that participated via satellite from Washington, and a lot of ground was covered. One of the things a lot of the candidates were asked about was Planned Parenthood. Of course, many agreed that it should be defunded. It was a fairly tame evening, though, given the format. The candidates didn't have a lot of opportunities to really interact with one another, but there were some tough punches thrown, like this one from Senator Lindsey Graham going after the Clintons.
I'm fluent in Clinton speak. You want me to translate, Jack? When he says, Bill says, I didn't have sex with that woman, he did. When she says, I'll tell you about building the pipeline when I get to be president means she won't. And when she tells us, trust me, you've got all the emails that you need, we haven't even scratched the surface.
Each of the candidates had about 5 minutes, and then there was a follow-up segment later where they were asked a question and were given about 30 seconds to talk about who they were and what their platforms would be. But there were really no big confrontations. Heather?
So in reference to those platforms, what were some of the big issues that they addressed?
Yeah, a lot of talk about immigration last night, as well as the economy, which remains one of the top issues for voters heading into this election. Here's John Kasich, the governor from Ohio.
We don't have the right to live high on the hog and put the bills on our children. That is immoral. So I spent 10 years working at it. Frankly, we got it balanced with Senator Domenici and the Clinton administration. We got it done, and we can do it. We can do it again. It is politically challenging, but frankly, the effort to get there is not that complicated.
This is New Hampshire, so this is the place for retail politicking, and a lot of the candidates stayed over last night and will be out shaking the hands of voters today. We're at a small business where Governor Kasich will be here shortly, and Christie and Santorum both have town halls here as well today. It's really important to interact with the voters here in the Granite State. Heather?
Yeah, a busy week for them. Thank you so much, Molly Line Live.
And a reminder, Thursday, August 6th is Debate Day. We team up with Facebook, bringing you the first Republican presidential debate of the 2016 campaign. Live in Cleveland, starts at 5 o'clock Eastern. We want you to be a part of it. So submit your questions at facebook.com/Fox News and tell us what you want to hear from the candidates. Rand Paul is coming up a bit later this morning, too. We got a question for him. Here's how it works. At 5 o'clock later today is the rule we put down for the cutoff point.
Just
so
top
we'll
10.
take the best national polls, 5 of them. And the top 10 in that category go at 9 o'clock. And the remainder, whether that's 5 or 6 or maybe as many as 7, go at 5 o'clock that afternoon. This is going to be a fantastic opportunity for all these men and women to share ideas with the country. So,
And it's really got Republican voters inspired, and they're very excited about it from everything that I've read.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Yep.
Thursday
You'll be there
we go.
5 p.m., right?
Yeah.